Good morning, everyone. I'm Michelle Higelin. I'm the Executive Director of ActionAid Australia, and I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land. Where I am, it is the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and also to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who may be joining us for this call. I also encourage all of our participants, feel free to acknowledge the countries that you're joining us on via the chat. So welcome to this webinar on women leading climate action. This is very much at the heart of ActionAid Australia's strategy. For those who are new to ActionAid, we are a global women's rights organisation working in over 70 countries to end poverty and injustice. And over the next 5 years, our focus is on supporting women on the front lines of the climate crisis to drive locally led solutions and systems change. Because we know that the climate crisis is disproportionately impacting women and girls. And we're also getting incredibly close to that 1.5 degree tipping point where we know that extreme flooding, drought, more destructive cyclones and wildfires will become the norm. So this is a critical issue and it's having a devastating impact on the communities we're working in. However, there is incredible work that we're supporting around the world that is making a huge difference in the lives of women and girls, but also supporting communities to prepare. So that's what our webinar is about today. And we are delighted to have two fantastic speakers joining us from overseas. So with that, I'm very pleased to introduce our moderator for today's discussion, Angela Priestley, who is the founding editor of Women's Agenda and now heads up Agenda Media. Angela is also a member of ActionAid's Arise Leadership Circle, which is scaling up support to women to be able to lead the response to climate change and disasters. So over to you, Angela.
Thank you so much, Michelle, and hello, everybody. I'm joining you from Guringai country on the northern beaches of Sydney, where I also pay my respects to, where I pay my respects to the Gadigal people and also to the traditional owners of the various places from wherever you are joining us from today. So again, as Michelle said, please feel free to say hello in the chat and to let us know where you are joining us from, and to also use that to make comments and pose questions as we go throughout the session. So as Michelle mentioned, I run an independent news platform, which we basically apply a gender lens across the key news stories of the day, and that platform's called Women's Agenda. Climate is one of our key editorial pillars on Women's Agenda, especially looking at climate change, how it can be a threat multiplier to women and girls globally. And I think we'll get to that during this session today. But we also cover how women are leading on the front lines of the climate crisis. And as I'm sure many of you on the call, and I'm sure are participating in, I think we're all, incredibly lucky to have some game-changing leaders here in Australia across, advocacy and politics, across community, the business sector, and disaster preparedness and response. And we are also incredibly lucky to have amazing leaders internationally, including across from some of our closest neighbours. So we do have two such leaders here today, Flora Vano from ActionAid Vanuatu and Sujeeta Mathema who is the Executive Director of ActionAid Nepal. Hello to you both.
Hello. Hi, Angela.
Hello.
So this session is about women on the front lines of the climate crisis, women who are driving locally led solutions and systems change, women who are determined not to leave anyone behind. So I'll do a little bit more of an introduction before I get to the first question, which will be to learn a little bit more about how climate change is impacting women and girls in your countries. But first, so Flora Vano is a proud Flora Vano is a proud Ni Vanuatu woman leading the ActionAid Vanuatu team to support local women to prepare for and respond to climate change and disasters and protect their rights during emergencies. Flora joined the organisation in 2017. She has led responses to Cyclone Harold and last year's twin cyclones Judy and Kevin, which occurred within 48 hours, I believe, as well as the response to COVID-19. Flora has played a critical role in the establishment of Women I Talk Tukatha Network, the platform and safe space for diverse and inclusive Ni Vanuatu women to organise and mobilise. Flora is a dedicated humanitarian, empowering women in her community to claim their agency, self-determination and power. So it's so nice to speak to you again, Flora. I've had the privilege of talking to you a few times over the past few years and to really get some deep insight into what's occurring in Vanuatu at the moment. Sujeeta Mathema, who only just met yesterday for the first time, and she leads ActionAid's Nepal team and has over 30 years of experience in development work. Sujeeta actively participates in feminist movements and channels her energy into advocating for the rights of women and building their leadership. And she believes that women can bring vital skills, resources, and experiences to humanitarian response. And when crisis happens, they are often the first responders, playing critical roles in saving lives. Thank you again both so much for being here. And again, to everyone on the call, thank you for joining us as well. And to also remember that you can share questions and comments in the chat box there. And also just let us know where you are. That would be nice to hear. So I would like to start with getting a feel for how climate change is impacting your countries. Sujeeta, can I start with you? What are the impacts there in Nepal at the moment?
Thank you, Angela. Thank you for these questions. Climate change actually impacting everyone, each one of us, directly, I would say. Yeah, probably a few years back, we would say like directly, indirectly, but now directly impacting all of us. And the most important is taking lives. It's taking lives slowly. It's taking lives rapidly as well. So, but when it comes to women and children, it is impacting more. You know, whenever the climate change happens, the destructions happens, when the disaster happens, the displacement takes place. And when the displacement takes place, it keeps women and children in the most vulnerable situation. And when the situation becomes so much vulnerable, you know, that the violence occurs, you know, when the families are struggling for the basic needs, women needs normally gets, you know, deprioritized, and people can lure with the needs of women very easily and get trapped in all sort of violences. So, you know, it gets really fragile for women and children. And in Nepal, for the climate change, we are experiencing different types of disasters, be it like flood or flash flood or snow slides, landslides, hot waves, cold waves, earthquake, you know, every disaster is happening, and Nepal is ranked 4th in terms of disaster vulnerability. So right now also, and if we are talking here right now, also we are experiencing flood every now and then. We are getting all sorts of information from different part of the countries that the floods are happening. So people are being displaced out there. Women and children getting affected very, very straightforward, like children are not having access to the educations, child marriages are happening. So there's so many impacts that happen. Even though women are very resilient, they get affected easily. So yeah, that's how it's happening.
Thank you for that. Can I pick up on one piece that you mentioned there regarding child marriage, because we do see how that comes up in the research across a number of different countries. And I'm not sure that everyone would be fully aware on the link to child marriage and disasters.
Right. You know what as I said earlier, when the disaster happens, people get displaced, right? People have to move from one place to another, and they have to start from scratch, everything. And the situation gets so vulnerable that people easily get trapped with their need because the needs are not enough there, the reliefs are not reaching, enough reliefs are not reaching. So these children who are not access to the educations, who are like really struggling for day-to-day needs, are getting trapped or are getting lured by the needs they want. And all these child marriages are happening because these perpetrators, they become very strong when the situation gets very vulnerable, and they lure it very easily with the things they are looking forward for it. And because of that, all these child marriages are happening. And at the same time, when the families are not in the conditions to keep them, to make them understand the importance of marriage, so they just, things will get so chaotic that they just go there, be with the people, be with the different people. People try to offer them something, and then they in return they expect something from these children. So we are saying that many of the child marriages are happening during the destruction's time. Child marriage and early marriage, both are happening at these situations. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Flora, to go to you now, could you tell us about how climate change is impacting women and girls in Vanuatu?
Thank you, Angela. That's a very good question. My gender is my barrier as a female. Vanuatu is a patriarchal society, male dominated from traditional and cultural. So there are oppression, depression before we enter adulthood and we became who we are today. Now, in saying that, we only got one woman in parliament. We do have a national gender policy, but it mainly sits within the national government. Where we work, where the vulnerabilities are, marginalized groupings are in the remote islands. And those remote islands, we might not have health facilities, police post, and that's a normal scenario. The road infrastructure are not accessible, and food services are not provided to and from the main Port Vila, the main city, to the smaller islands. In some islands, one time in 4 months, the cargo boats enter those islands. So we have been almost neglected as women in my country on participation and being visible and being recognized that we are there. The system have deprived this right from us. Now, when it comes to climate change, loss of livelihood was one of the big things that happens to all women and girls and women with disability. Our overall protection has been compromised, which means water insecurity rises, increase of gender-based violence happens, food insecurity happens. Our garden have been washed away by those terrible floods, flash flooding, cyclones, storms, ashfall, acid rain, and disease happen right after the cyclone, which means if you do not have health service already at a normal time, how can you look after your family when there's a crisis? And then the discrimination of having a disability under your own house. And when it is a female or a girl child who is a disability, sexual abuse happens right under the roof, but no one talks about it because it's taboo. It's a taboo, sensitive topic to even take it to the court. We only do peace ceremony. A chicken, a mat has been handed to the families, to the daughter's parents, swept under the carpet, and that's it. We say it's peace. Now, peace has been made, but the victim traumatized for life. And this is a normal time. But when it comes to disasters, comes to climate change impact, the disability are triple discriminated and are much more, 4 times vulnerable than the normal women. And the system also doesn't recognize women, single-headed household, widows, single mother. It only recognizes male-headed household. So there's a need for women to be able to voice that, to be able to meaningfully participate in some of those decision-making spaces. Financial violence take its toll, emotional violence, and you name it. It happens at a normal time and also it double and triples during the impacts of climate change.
Mm. Just to also hear about those impacts in terms of disasters. So I know that cyclones are just one aspect of disasters when we're talking climate change, but could you outline what was unique in terms of the twin cyclones? That wasn't something that Vanuatu has experienced before. Am I right?
That is correct, Angela. Over the years, we have seen that the cyclone comes to our waters in Vanuatu. We got the biggest one in a Category 5 cyclone in 1986, Cyclone Uma. After that, there's a big gap until 2015. We got Tropical Cyclone Pam. And then you can 86 and then Tropical Cyclone Pam in 2015. Then you only got a smaller gap. From 2015 to 2020, 5 years, we got hit by Category 5 again, Tropical Cyclone Harold, 2020. And then just on 2020, 3 years, it's becoming more shorter now when we are receiving. And then we got twin cyclone, and both of them are Category 4 and 5. And that is 48. And in 1 week, you got another after. And then just off season, our cyclone season starts on November to April every year. Now in October, we got hit by another Category 4 and 5, which is Tropical Cyclone Lola, and that is 2 twin in 1 week, 1 off season in the same year. So that means the women's food security has been really damaged and their livelihood, and violence increased at those trade. Women, we respond, we plant, and then it takes 3 to 4 months for vegetables. The root crops take 6 months, and we are just about to eat. Women are just about to pick up their livelihood again. There goes the off-season cyclone happening in October. So between the twin one within the week, the women are trying to find where everything is. 48 hours later, they got hit again by another one. So it really tell us something, that our world that we know, the harmonious way of our people, it's been at risk, and that's a crisis on itself. Our way of living, how we predict weather traditionally, it will be affected for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it speaks to the increase in intensity and increase in frequency as well, which
Absolutely.
yeah, and just over those past few years, I think it's really important for everybody to know that. So we are going to talk about what's happening with the work that ActionAid is doing and what's happening with women's leadership, because it is really transformative, and it is really incredible to think about what's going on here and how women are coming together to protect their families and their communities during these disasters. For disasters and climate change that I might say they have absolutely nothing personally to responsibility for. So we've got to think about that aspect here and how people are moving on to protect and make sure that nobody's left behind. Sujeeta, going to you on this question, how is ActionAid there equipping women to prepare for disasters, and what are you seeing from women's leadership there?
Great, thanks, Angela. My sister Flora clearly said that how women are impacted, not just from the violence perspective, but also how their work has been doubled or tripled, At the same time, I just would like to highlight, before coming to the work that we are doing with the women are being impacted by the distractions in their care work burden. We are saying unpaid care work. Their care work has been doubled because, like when the distractions happen, the whole system gets collapsed. Like health system gets collapsed, and the water system gets collapsed. And they are like, now they are spending more time to fetch water, more time to collect firewood, and also taking care of elderly and children, because the health systems got completely collapsed, So that means their care work has double or triple. So the consequences of that is they're having less time to come out from the home. to be the part of the whole system, to be able to make a decisions which is right for them. So that is keeping them really away from all kind of opportunities that just lying down there. So ActionAid at this very moment, we've been in the ground from last 40 years, and we have realized that being resilient is non-negotiable. You have to be resilient. And economic resilience is the must, women should be economically very, very resilient. So keeping this thing in our head, we have organized women, we built the agencies, and the first and foremost is bringing women from their comfort zone. I mean, I don't know whether I should call it a comfort zone or not itself, because sometimes home itself is not a very safe place for women. But then bringing them out from the home itself was very challenging for us. We had to work day and night. We worked together with them, for them. So when women came out and started building the agencies, we started with the revolving fund, seed fund, from where women could get some support to be able to, do something of their from their own her own capacity in the income generation activities. So somehow these women got involved and listened stories from other women as well, and got empowered, And then we have realized that, okay, these women are slowly coming up, becoming the producer themselves. They have to be in the market. The market is not women friendly. It's so dominated by patriarchal system, because the whole nation, as my sister Flora was saying, that patriarchy, violence, all not women are not being identified as a farmer. All these are the social disasters. So to overcome all this disaster, women are fighting, and ActionAid is supporting them with different kind of training, skills, equipping them with different kind of tools to be able to assess the vulnerability. We call it participatory vulnerable assessment. We are equipping them to understand how the whole governance system is supporting, giving them service by the community scorecard tools, So, but at the same time, it's so important for women to build a leadership, to be able to negotiate, to be able to sit on the same level of the table and say things, these are not working for us. To be able to say that, come on, this is like nothing about us without us. You have to be here. So we are giving all sort of training, power, if we would like to say, for them to be able to negotiate, for them to be able to analyze the situation, for them to be able to bring their voices on the table and to make things or the system workable for them. So that's how we are working, organizing, capacitating, and making them want to be able to deliver and to be able to raise their voices to change the system, which is absolutely not working for them, right? So that is how we are working. Yeah, thanks.
Nothing about us without us. I love that. So Flora, just to ask a similar question to you about the work that ActionAid is doing to work with local communities and governments there in Vanuatu.
Thank you, Angela. So in Vanuatu, ActionAid has a framework tool called Woman-Led Community-Based Protection Framework. And that tool allows us to train women in a TOT approach, train-the-trainer approach model. And that approach, we have seen the successful of it. And that's we are making sure that women that are illiterate, women that haven't been able to, hold a pen for 40, like if maybe they have been, in this arranged marriage at an early age, and education wasn't a key priority for even a girl child back in their times, and then now we are in the 21st century, they feel included, and a lot of them got the experience on how they have been dealing with some of those issues in their own ways. And this tool also allows them to identify those issues and find solution. So in a short time, short term and then the long term. So that is a very important tool for women leadership in a normal time and also in times of when the humanitarian action takes place. And it's proven really good because it builds them to be confident so they can be able to speak out for themselves. In places where it's hard, there are mechanisms that we put in to assist the women in the end. Also the mentor approach as well was given, transfer of skills, intergenerational learning and knowledge sharing is being put through to the network. So then when the older generation are going, the younger one are coming. So institutional knowledge it's there. That's the bridge we are bridging. That's the gap. We are making sure they understand, they know how to run a home, how to uphold themselves as a leadership women. We also have Woman Wet and Weather, and that's an multi-hazard early warning system. And it has been proven very effective because it has been innovated by women for women. And I'm happy to say it's been from one of our other sister network in Fiji. And then it has been adopted and contextualized to Vanuatu in a very unique way. So we had handset that we have given out to women, and the women are able to receive information from the Met's office and immediately had the information given to the women, to all levels of women, including With Sunshine, which is our disability arm of the network, and feed the information back. And during crisis, Woman Wet and Weather sitting within the operational team, National Emergency Operations Center in Vanuatu within the comms cluster. So it also helps to simplified messaging that goes to the community. What other type of messaging? In terms of preparedness, the early warning messages were defined and designed by women on how they wanted to receive those messages. A lot of women don't know all of the scientific terms of climate change. Now, given to them, for them, they would know, make sure you have enough food packed, ready to evacuate to a strong shelter. Is your house secured? Do you have a safe shelter nearby? Do you have a disability in which, you need to make sure that the disability goes first and then your whole family. So those are the small information that they want to see on preparedness. Before they, the tropical, the yellow alert, blue alert, red alert will come in, but the main one on how they see their surrounding, how they will prepare and act to save life. And they are the forefront at the frontliners as well. They are the one who did the first respond. And we also have Wheat Green, which is women farmers. And they have 3 gardens that we emphasize them to do. One garden is for the livelihood. They sell to earn money. So their independence will allow them not to ask money for their partner, or continuously asking, can you buy soap? Can you buy this for the house? It gives them a self-independence for them to make their own choice on how they can run their home and manage their home. And then you got another one, just another garden. Second garden is just for consumption, which means we wanted to make sure that we got a healthy generational in the future. Our future have to be healthy. And as a mother, I need to be healthy as well to look after my kids. And therefore, healthy food is crucial. The nutrition, the balanced meal, we introduced that because during disaster, we could see there's a lot of kids that they did not have the same food like, those in the city, those in Port Vila. In the islands, they might probably just have cassava or manioc from morning, lunch, afternoon, the same day. It probably just that carbohydrate meal, but there's no, bodybuilding, there's no nutrition the way we should have, we don't have. So that allows the women to plan that and then feed their child. The third garden is actually meant for disaster. So we have that approach on when the cyclone hit the north in Tropical Cyclone Harold, the women from the south have responded to the northern province. Now, last year, twin cyclone, the women from up north, they responded to down south. So they actually respond to Port Vila, to Tafea province as well. And it's the same. They have used the disaster garden to bring food that we can consume to eat immediately. And they also bring cuttings and seedlings. So we can plant while we are eating, we are pulling ourselves together, but we are safe on food security because we have something to eat and we plant to recover within 3 months. And also we did that so we can wait for the government to respond. Well, let's just say 3 weeks later for food. 1 month, some of the islands receive 3 months later. So we try to make sure that those gaps have been bridged so women are not stressed. They're okay. And just echoing what my other sister said about the economic hub, it needs sustainability. And the sustainability of women is providing livelihood that can be helped in a longer term for building resilience. So when we look at community resilience, and within ActionAid, we are in Vanuatu, it's just women and girls and women with disability. And in that case, we need to put in things that can work for them. And we don't define those economic activities. They are the one who define it for us. The disability couldn't do a lot of the work that the normal able women can do. So they will prefer one of the hub that we had is just they wanted sewing. They just wanted, because a lot of them is confined, they are confined to wheelchair. So things that they can do and enjoy doing it, but they don't have the skill. So we need to make sure we train them. So everything we do is to elevate women to be able to be equal, to have women in the space. And I think what we have seen when we empower women, we inspired women, we motivated women, women think for everybody. While they are in the disaster place, they make sure that we do not leave anyone out. A good example was when we did the ashfall response, and our government was telling, this is the data rich, you will all male-headed household. We went and found other disability-headed household, widow-headed household, single mother-headed household, and a good total of around 200 houses that were headed by women, but they were not included in the distribution because the system is being led that it's only male-headed household. And the women have gathered themselves, went to the NDMO office and told them that we are not leaving the compound until you have an agreement that you agree that we go back to the community to feed the other 200. And that was the time I could see that, the work that we do is meaningful, and the work that we do transform lives, save lives, and include life. And also that same work that we do helps women be able to stand on their feet and tell them that I also have the same right as you to be here, to be on this space, to be able to participate meaningfully and give my opinion. And I don't want to know how you want to think of my opinion, but I'm there and I'm here, and I'm here for all my other sisters. And I think that's the spirit we are carrying on in country.
Yeah, and that's what a beautiful spirit to carry on. So thank you for that. I know that we talked about questions at the front of the conversation. So the regular chat box, that is actually not available at the moment, but you can put questions in the Q&A box, which will just come through to the panelists. So if anyone does have questions, you can also share comments there as well, and I'll share them with the audience. Sujeeta, I wanted to go to you following Flora's comments there about some of the, I guess, the transformation that she's seen that's been empowering women to have that voice at those levels. What kind of changes have you seen over the years? What kind of impact has ActionAid had there?
Great. Thank you, Sister Flora, for sharing about this women leadership. What I really would like to highlight out here is women leadership is not a choice. It's not just the alternative or just the approach. Climate change is challenging sustainable development, and women leadership should be an attitude for sustainable development if you're really looking forward for that. And another thing, like we are discussing this in a very good day or good week of World Humanitarian Day, and it says like, no matter what humanitarian delivers. But our experience have clearly informed us that no matter what women delivers, no matter what, and they have been delivering it in every situation, in every conditions, they are being delivering it, they understand the diverse perspective because they are doing that in household. They are understanding the need of different people within that household. They are managing their house with a very limited resources. They are doing it. So with all the activities, first, yes, we are making them prepared. We are making them prepared to face the disaster, the savings lives, but at the same time, we are also preparing them to be prepared before it comes, before, like vulnerability assessment is so crucial that how can they save more lives? How can be there? How can be prepared to face and be more resilient about the situation that's coming in? So I just wanted to talk about it before coming to the impact. Yes, we have been working with women a lot, and the most important thing is the one that I have said is, okay, women are producer now, right? Now the market is not women friendly, or market is so much dominated by patriarchal system. These women been able to establish women friendly market, which is absolutely great. Now government have also taken this up and trying to establish women friendly market in other provinces as well. At the same time, the relief, as many of us know that in 2015, we had a mega earthquake taking 9,000 plus lives there. And when the relief package has been designed, the need of women were not recognized or not even thought about it. The breastfeeding women, the pregnant women, just having a packet of chickpeas is so important, And now these women are coming up right in front and making decisions or negotiating to make women need as a main package within that relief, which is very strong, very strongly coming, and local government are listening about it. So the whole mechanism of this humanitarian response, the system which was not favorable for women, is now talking about it, is now talking about how it can be women friendly, how it can be possible to meet the need of the women. At the same time, we all know that we have different need as a woman, as a girl child. We have a different need. We have a different things to talk about. Probably the whole social system is not giving us that space where we can come easily and talk about it openly. We might be judged. We might be say something by the others which we might hurt our confidence or something. So we need that space, that safe space where we all can come together and talk about it. So we have established this safe space for the women. And now these women come together in that safe space, talk about their issues, talk about how they can be together and come up with the solution. How can they talk about the whole system that is not working for them and what can they do together? And while coming out from that space, they become brave. Now, these women started calling this safe space as their brave space, right? So these brave spaces are really working fantastically. But at the same time, I also like to say that while we were working with the women on saving lives, rescuing lives, and all these local ways of saving lives, local ways of protecting themselves, they shared it in such a beautiful way that we really have to work on it. And the science and the local, the merge of these two. These women are talking. I'll give you an example of hot waves. When the hot waves hits hard, these women, you know what they do? They just pour this water in the mud, and they make it, I don't know, the dough of the mud, and they just pour it, or they just pour on their body, the wet mud. and that actually protects them from the heat waves.
Hmm.
So that's how, and the other example is about using this plastic water bottles. They're joining these plastic water bottles by the rope and making something like a jacket. And they just put it and use it when the flood comes. These are all the local ways they're doing, and we are trying to promote that because they're so easy for them to accept it and adapt it. And they are talking about this with their government as well. So that this is so fantastic to see women leadership in the ground talking about their power, being together, and going for the system change that is not working for them.
Thank you so much for that. Flora, did you want to share anything more on impacts that you've seen that, well, as a result of ActionAid's work in Vanuatu as well?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I should say, I know that you've started there, but was there anything else that you wanted to add to that there?
Yes, I wanted to add that the early warning system that we had for warm and wet and weather, UTS, the University Technology Sydney, has done research on 2 countries, Timor-Leste and Vanuatu. And the research is head, I think the title of the research is the economics of acting early, the cost of it. So for every $1 we invest on preparedness or early warning system, we save $4 on the humanitarian world. So I think that's a very good way of putting that the innovation, because it's a bottom-up approach, it works for the communities where we are, because Vanuatu is in the big vast ocean, the blue ocean, and water all right around us. And we are threatened also by sea level rise every other day. And that keeps on coming. Our normal waves turn to king tides now. They are not the king tides. Now, another thing that I wanted to say is the with sunshine, women and girls with disability. How we included them to make sure that they also being able to be their own change in their own community, being able to use that inclusive language, the power that they had to be included in just a normal family meeting, community meeting, because the discrimination starts from the home, from the community. When you have one of the disability in one community, the whole community say, this family have been cursed. They're the one who bring bad luck to the community. And those are the things we have seen over the years. And through the work that ActionAid did, we are changing the perspective of how people see women and girls with disability. COVID-19, they responded with food basket to their own sisters because of I think a very good data detail that we have for with Sunshine to get to know where they are, what type of housing they have, because if we know the house, we would know that a category 2, would the house survive? The house that they are in. Category 4, would it survive? Who are the families that are with? What are the protection issues they have been facing? What skills do they have before a disaster strike? What food they were eating? Have they got any health issues? So this is more on a very deep level, very in detail. But the good thing is before anyone could act, we act according to the data that we had. And this is where we save lives, and families started to look at them that they are also a big contributor to the society. Their voices, their opinion matters. So leave no one behind under the code of disability, the rights of people with disability. We amplify that through the network. We make sure that the women campaign, talk to their families about why it is important to not neglect disability, but involve them. They have their own say. They know how to survive on those disasters, every type of disasters. And the challenging one is we don't have equipment in country for all different sorts of impairment. And that's another challenge that we are facing. Like, how is technology, the world of innovation, can assist in such, this device needs to be climatized because we got all sorts of weather patterns in country and infrastructure that comes with it. How it will be simplified on messaging. So yeah, these are the things we are still hoping we will get through to the future. And I'm talking about the system also here, core system that women need to participate in. Now, the work that we do helps women in all of our community. We don't have women sitting at the Council of Chiefs. The Council of Chiefs is purely male dominated. It's only leaders of the tribe. They're the one that holds the power there. Now, out of all that, one community has made an impact. They have included women in their council, which means that's a big win-win for us. We only did one. There's more yet to be done. We've got 83 islands in Vanuatu. 65 of them are habitat. ActionAid only works in 5. And you can imagine, we really wanted to move far. We wanted men to start including us. But sometimes our very own structure sort of push us away. But through ActionAid, we have been able to shed some light. It will take time for the changes to happen. It doesn't happen overnight, I understand that. But we have been doing it since 2015, before I went and joined in 2017. I still carried this torch with me to make sure that whoever is around see it and change their perspective into it. It's not easy as a female to walk in places where in some nakamals, I am not allowed to speak as I am wearing a dress. They will want to see someone with the pants in front of me. I can be there, but they will talk through this guy to talk through to me. But here I am there. So this is still something that every day is a constant challenge in new communities where we will be going. And we are not stopping there. We have good intentions of making sure that disability are included also in spaces where government policies are. Now, the work we do are all in the remote islands. Now, in Port Vila, the policymakers sits there and do policies. And they like to call on ActionAid because ActionAid has a big constituency of women. And they wanted our opinions because of the gender policy inside all that sectoral policy in government. One thing for the inclusion part to really come out is making sure that I go in those meetings and I had a +1, which I did not confirm my +1. So, just going in with them and telling them, I am so sorry. I had my sister that is confined to a wheelchair, you can't turn her around, now can you? So that allows me to go in a lot of policy meetings with our inclusion sister, and she input in all this policy. Now she sits inside the National Disability Committee of our country under the Ministry of Justice. And we have seen also that the justice system, where I was talking about this community that involve women in their council, went down also and asked the chiefs, who do you want to sit also inside the island court system? And the chief pointed out 3 women leaders that we have trained also to be part of the island system. So perpetrators can be now, been like, I just want to grab them and throw them to the jail now. Because we can see them there and we can see, this chicken, the pigs we give them, it's just peace. But we now have confidence that if this island can be a model, then it needs to be replicated to all our other communities in our 6 provinces in Vanuatu. And Angela, I can go on and on, but I'll stop from here. There's so many things that we have done, and progress is coming through.
And I think there's a few of us probably relating to the strategies that you have there, because I know that happens everywhere all around the world where women have various strategies to get heard or little things that we'll do to get an extra person in the room with us or make sure that they are represented in some ways. So thank you for that. And one thing I think, and you've said it at the start there, I think you mentioned there's just one female parliamentarian in Vanuatu. And so we're talking about one of the lowest representations of women in parliament in the world. So it's incredible that the work that you're doing to get into these spaces. I know we only have a few minutes left, so I'll get to one of the questions that we have here, which was asking firstly, we're saying how wonderful it is to hear about the empowering action that ActionAid is taking to support women and girls in Vanuatu and Nepal. And then asking if, in claiming power, if you've experienced any backlash and resistance personally or to the movements. Interested in hearing how ActionAid and the women are responding to any backlash as well. So Sujeeta, to go to you, and do you have any responses to that? Have you seen this backlash?
Yeah,
Mhm.
a lot. I don't know from where to start. Backlash. The whole socialization process is a backlash. I must say that. The way we raised the generation is a backlash, So backlash is coming from the family, community, culture, everywhere. And whenever we want women to come out, there is a reservation, and that's a backlash. I mean, we could say everywhere, we might have a very good, in Nepal, we have a very good policy in terms of gender policy, women empowerment policy, rural women policies. It's so beautiful. Even in the constitution, it has been, unpaid care work has been recognized, but when it comes to implementation, no, there's massively lack in terms of implementations. We do have 8% of our national budget as a women empowerment, but then where is it going? It is going in the road construction, and giving us the rationale that even women walks there. So we can send that, the reservation coming from them is too much. And one time when we were having this discussion with the informal sector women laborers and all, we get a call from anonymous, I would say, anonymous call. We get it and says like, you guys are keeping hands in a hot boiling water. Be careful. Those sort of things keeps on coming. So backlash is every now and then. You might say the policy it's there, but when it comes to implementation, it's not there. We are saying that, okay, now whenever the responses are there, whenever we have to do the humanitarian responses, we are saying that, okay, we'll do the cash transfer or bank voucher. Then we are trying to open an account for a woman to have the bank account, but for that you need citizenship, right? And citizenship only can be produced or can be issued in the name of either in the name of father or husband, and husbands are not giving their name. They're not prepared to they're not giving that their name for marriage certificate. Without that, they're not been able to make that citizenship, and without that citizenship, they are not being able to open the bank account. I can give you enormous example like that. It's really coming as a backlash from every sector, from family to culture, from politics to policies, from everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and this backlash, it's again, I think a lot of people could relate to some of the things that you're sharing in different ways, I imagine, around backlash, because we sort of say it's this fear of this change, of people getting power in spaces where they typically haven't had power, or it's and we just and we've even seen it ramp up on some of the things that we're looking at on women's agenda as well, which is really horrible to see. So it's all part of this aspect. It's that we need to get the empowerment is so important, and we have no choice but to lead, like you started there. But again, we also need to think about the unfortunate, the backlash that is there, the fear that is there, and how we can work to support each other in meeting that backlash. Maybe in just the final minute or so, Flora, if you wanted to share any final thoughts either on backlash or something else, and then I will hand back to Michelle to close us off for the session.
Thank you, Angela. I'd like to say one of the main things that we have seen is the platform of climate change. That word climate change have given us a pathway to be able to go to communities that they don't want anything to do with women's rights and gender. The word itself is a backlash for us already in country. Now, one of the things we have seen also that when there is backlash, you are advancing women's right in those spaces. That is why there are backlashes. It means you are making an impact. But if there's no backlash, there's no impact. It's like you are going on a cruise, on a luxurious cruise. There's no storm in between. But you need those backlash because it defined that, yes, we are breaking down barriers. We are opening doors and people are scared for the change. Thank you.
What a brilliant way to end. Thank you. Thank you so much. Over to you, Michelle.
Wow, what a wonderful treat for our Friday morning to hear from these two exceptional women leaders who are driving climate action. You know, so many takeaways from today. I think, you know, definitely we hear, you know, the devastating impact climate change is having both in Nepal and Vanuatu, but particularly on women and girls. But I think mostly, I mean, what I take away from today is the hope we can have from women's leadership. Just hearing the tremendous examples and, you know, whether that's in Nepal, you know, building brave spaces and women's leadership and negotiation skills to be able to challenge a system that isn't working for them. Or in Vanuatu, where women-led early warning and preparedness is not only bringing an economic return, but it's really starting to shift women's role in society. And I think it's important to highlight the starting point, you know, for the work in ActionAid Vanuatu was women being completely ignored in all of the disaster management. So now to be at the centre of the National Emergency Operations Centre is no mean feat and is incredibly impressive. So, I mean, kudos to both of you. I think you're leading incredibly exceptional work in the community with tremendous impact. And it really just shows how important it is that we continue to invest in the leadership of women on the front lines of climate injustice. You know, as Sujeeta said, women's leadership is not a negotiable. It is critical to sustainable development. So a big thank you to the two of you. Thank you, Angela, as well, for moderating today's discussion. It's always, you know, it's so wonderful to have your support of this work. And I also want to thank all of you for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed this morning's discussion. And, you know, do continue to stay in touch with what we're doing through the ActionAid Australia website and our social media channels. And also, please check out our new strategy, Women's Leadership for Climate Justice, because at the heart of this is really how do we get behind amazing women leaders on the ground who will drive the kind of change that's needed as we see increasing impacts from climate change. I hope you have a wonderful Friday and a lovely weekend. And thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.